Eerie revival plus power awakening plus devouring power plus eerie containment. Strange abilities quietly emerge in the ordinary classroom, and boundless darkness envelopes the entire campus, devouring the creatures inside recklessly. Strange police officers, inexplicable reminders, will be devoured if you don't close your eyes in the dark. As a senior high school student at Short Sand No. 4 Middle School, Yi awakened to the danger of devouring supernatural powers and was able to devour them infinitely without considering their side effects. Is that C.level eerie? Or is it B.level, A.level, or even S.level weird? No matter what level of strangeness, devour it directly. Can't the shelter accommodate you? The law enforcement team cannot solve it. You all step back and let Yi come. This is the story of the Devourer, who will devour all the strange powers in this world. Chapter 1. Black Mist Attacks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Did you see yesterday's news? A strange thing happened in the neighboring city of Daean. All the residents in a residential building disappeared, and even the police couldn't find any trace. What's even more strange is that the surveillance cameras outside the residential buildings didn't capture any footage of residents entering or exiting the buildings, as if they had disappeared out of thin air. I saw this too, it feels so strange. In a classroom of Short Sand No. 4 Middle School in Short Sand City, several girls were discussing with each other about the recent strange events in Daeang City. Next to them, there is a young man sitting on the far corner of the classroom, quietly looking out the window. At this moment, a head next to him leaned in front of the young man, who was a slightly plump student. He spoke up and said, "Hey Yi, did you hear that group of girls' discussion? I saw that before, it's really strange. How could so many living people disappear out of thin air in a building?" The boy who was called Yi shook his head gently and replied, "I don't know, but you're actually starting to pay attention to these things. I thought you only knew how to go online, Yang Qing." Yang Qing smiled and patted Yi's shoulder, then spoke up. "Hey, don't even say I have this intention. Let's go to Shuangpai together after school. I'm in good form today, I'll give you some support and take you on a flight." However, there have been more and more bizarre events reported in the news recently, and I don't want to pay attention to them. Yi nodded. Since a year ago, there have been many strange events in this world that go beyond the scope of science. Moreover, from a period of time ago, the number of strange events happening around the world has been increasing. Most people choose not to believe the reports of these bizarre events, thinking that they are just a means of media traffic. But Yi doesn't think so. Yi has a somewhat solitary personality and does not like to initiate conversations with others. She often sits quietly in the corner of the classroom alone. But Yi is also very handsome. At first, there were many female classmates talking to him, but Yi was always lukewarm, and gradually few people came to disturb him. Yang Qing is an exception. Yang Qing has a carefree personality and regards Yi as his only close friend. The two often skip classes and go online during evening self-study. Yi's academic performance is very good, but Yang Qing is in a mess. He was caught skipping classes and surfing the internet during evening self-study, and it must be Yang Qing who was harshly scolded by the teacher. Yang Qing is a pure internet-addicted teenager with a strong addiction to food and drink. His auxiliary gameplay can be described in 2 words. Air. Every time, it's Yi who goes down the road with 1 fight and 2 crazy attacks. Just as Yang Qing and Yi were boasting about his current state, a middle-aged man wearing a deep black coat walked into the classroom, with the homeroom teacher following behind him. "Is this the police? Why did the police come to our classroom? Has anyone broken the law?" The police suddenly arrived, and Yi glanced briefly before continuing to look out the window. I don't know why, but he always felt something was wrong. The sky outside the window seemed to dim, and the scorching sun was still hanging high in the sky. "Everyone quiet down, this is Officer Su." He has something very important to inform us. Please cooperate. The class teacher spoke up and the classroom suddenly fell silent. The man in black, known as Officer Su, glanced slightly at the crowd in the classroom and slowly spoke up. Hello everyone, my name is Su Gung and I am a law enforcement officer. You can also think of me as a police officer. The next thing I want to say is, I hope you remember it well. This is very important. When the black mist comes, close your eyes. The darkness after closing your eyes is the true darkness, and false darkness will devour you. Upon hearing these inexplicable words, everyone in the classroom, including the homeroom teacher, had doubts on their faces. What is he talking about? What darkness, what devouring? What law enforcement officers are there? Is he really a police officer rather than a mental patient? It's not like I've read too many novels and started talking nonsense. The students in the classroom looked at each other, talking and discussing quietly, without taking Su Gung's words to heart. Yi Yi also turned her gaze to Su Gung, and as she watched Su Gung's appearance, Yi Yi was very sensitive and noticed something was wrong. Yi Yi discovered that Su Kang's hair was floating in the absence of wind, as if there was wind constantly surrounding him. This feeling is very strange. Yi Yi can be sure that there is no wind blowing into the classroom at this time, because the windows of the classroom are already closed and there will be no wind blowing in. At this moment, the originally bright classroom suddenly began to darken, and the outside of the classroom became very dim, as if darkness had fallen, very gloomy. In just a short moment, everyone fell into darkness and couldn't see any light. Someone in the classroom has already started to panic. What's going on? Isn't it noon now? Why did it suddenly get dark? Did a solar eclipse occur? It's too dark to see anything at all. Jiang Sun, quickly turn on the lights. You're the closest to the light switch. Oh. Good. According to his memory, Jiang Sun fumbled in the darkness for a while before finding the switch. After turning it on, the classroom was still dark and the lights did not turn on. What's going on? The light seems to be broken. It can't light up. Jiang Sun loudly said, repeatedly pressing the switch a few times, but the light still did not turn on. Damn it, the sky suddenly turns black and the lights are still broken at this moment. It's really unlucky. How can I learn from this? A student with yellow hair angrily said. After a brief panic, the students in the classroom gradually quieted down. They did not feel afraid of this dark environment, thinking that the darkness would soon fade away. But a strong sense of unease arose in Yi Ye's heart, as he felt that the darkness was not so simple. After seeing the classroom shrouded in darkness, Su Gung's face also changed slightly. He immediately opened the communication earphones on his ears and walked towards the outside of the classroom. He easily found the classroom door, seemingly unaffected by the darkness. Captain. Code C.012 Black Mist has appeared in Short Sand No. 4 Middle School. Currently, all classes in Short Sand No. 4 Middle School are covered by black mist. I have prompted all classes in Short Sand No. 4 Middle School, and whether they can survive depends on themselves. Sound returned from communication headphones. Okay, I got it. The black fog will block the communication signal, and Zhang Zhishuan is also ready. After the communication is disconnected, you two will take joint action and report to the team as soon as the communication is restored. The containment operation, execution begins. Chapter 2. Crisis in the Dark. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 3. Devouring, Black Mist LV1. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 4. Code C.012. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 5. Successful Devotion. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 6. Invitation from the Xia Family. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 7. Disappearing Black Mist. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 8. Code D.005, Strange Building. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 9. Strange Human Shapes. You are listening at novel full.audio. Inside the private room, everyone's faces were filled with fear, and Yi Ye's expression was also somewhat solemn. Because they all saw it, at the moment when Xia Tianlong walked into that darkness, his figure immediately disappeared and never walked back. Xia's father and mother attempted to call out the name of Xia Tianlong at the door, but did not receive any response. What exactly happened? Where did Tianlong go? No, I need to go find him. Seeing Xia Tianlong disappear into the darkness, Xia's mother felt very anxious and thought of going out to find him, but was stopped by Xia's father. Didn't you see the heavenly dragon disappear? I don't know what happened outside, so you went out recklessly. You'll also disappear later. Xia's father said seriously, although he was also very anxious at the moment, he could force himself to become rational. Yi, what's going on outside? How did my brother disappear? Xia Yushi asked, although she didn't have much affection for Xia Tianlong, he was still her own brother. He may have been transferred to another location. Yi pondered for a moment before slowly speaking. Just now, he analyzed the darkness outside through the system and learned that they are now in a different space, no longer in their original space. There are many independent spaces in this alien space, and the private room they are in is one of them, and Xia Tianlong is likely to enter other spaces. Has it been transferred? Xia Yushi was somewhat puzzled, and Xia's father beside him took a deep look at Yi. Faced with this strange situation, the young man surprisingly did not panic at all and could calmly analyze it. The intuition of a successful businessman tells him that Yi is not easy. Brother Yi, what should we do next? Yang Qingxuan beside him asked. Last time at school, he survived by relying on Yi Ye's prompts. This time, when encountering strangeness, he instinctively relied on Yi. Xia's father also said, Yi, if you have a way to leave, please take us out together. Uncle will definitely thank you again after we go out. Also, there's my family's Tianlong, we must save him. Xia Mu said urgently. Xia Fu sighed deeply beside him. Xia Long had just mocked Yi and Yang Qing so much that even if Yi had a way, he might not have saved him. He always taught Xia Tianlong not to look down on the poor and not to be lawless based on his status as a wealthy second generation, but Xia Tianlong never listened and was spoiled by his mother. Now that such a thing has happened, he has no face to ask others for help to save people. I don't know if Xia Tianlong can live or not. He killed himself, and I have no choice. But I definitely want to get out alive. Yi arrived at the door of the private room again, looking at the darkness outside. He reached out and closed the door. When he opened it again, the darkness disappeared and a bright corridor appeared before their eyes. This corridor is not the same as the previous restaurant corridor, but more like the corridor inside a residential building. The walls next to the corridor are covered with moss, which looks very corrupt. This is. The faces of the people in the private room changed. Aren't they in the private room of the restaurant? Why didn't the corridor of the restaurant appear after the darkness disappeared? Where has this gone again? After appearing in the corridor, Yi walked out of the private room and arrived at the top of the corridor. Yang Qing followed closely behind Yi and walked out. Xia Yushi regained her senses from the shock and followed her out, reminding her father and mother. Dad, Mom, you guys should come out too. After hesitating for a moment, Xia's father and mother saw that Yi Yi and others were not in danger, so they left the private room and came to the corridor. As soon as the two of them left the private room, the door suddenly closed on its own. They were startled and turned their heads to look at the door. At this moment, they found that the door of the private room had disappeared and was replaced by an iron door similar to the other rooms in the residential building, but the iron door was already rusty. Where did the private room we just came out of go? One strange event after another occurred, and Xia's father and mother suddenly felt a chill all over their bodies. Although Yang Qing and Xia Yushi had experienced the strange events, they were also greatly frightened. Yi Ye's face didn't look very good either. He had previously secretly tried to devour, but the system told him that he needed to find a strange entity to devour, and this time he couldn't even obtain temporary strange abilities. Because this is a eerie space, his current abilities are not enough to devour the space, he can only devour the eerie entity. But this also indicates that this eerie entity is a tangible entity, not the entire alien space, so Yi Yi has a chance to devour it and leave here. What needs to be done now is to find the eerie entity, but Yi Yi still has no idea what the eerie entity looks like and where it is. Perhaps you can try covering this place with black mist, and you may find something, Yi Yi couldn't help but think to herself. At this moment, a stiff and unfamiliar voice emanated from the room in front of several people, resembling a male or female voice, but more like a female voice. Eating, eating, eating. The sentence was mechanically repeated 3 times. Yi Yi and the others arrived at the room where the sound was coming from and looked inside through the window. There are 3 people in the room, 1 woman and 2 children. The woman is sitting with her back to the window and cannot see the front, while the 2 children are sitting on the side. Due to the dim lighting in the room, their faces cannot be seen clearly. But based on their movements, it can be determined that they are eating. There are other people around. Husband, we can ask them what's happening now. Maybe we can also find the whereabouts of Tianlong. Xia's mother saw someone else with an excited expression on her face, but before she could finish speaking, her father covered her mouth. Are you stupid? You didn't see dust everywhere in that room, don't you know how long it was abandoned? How could someone live in such an environment? Xia's father tried his best to lower his voice and whispered, his brows tightly furrowed together, feeling very angry inside. He was angry about why his wife was so foolish. Yi Ye's face was also a bit ugly. He had originally wanted to observe, but it was directly disrupted. The 3 people in the room seemed to hear Xia Mu's voice, and in an instant, their heads turned together, staring fixedly at Yi Yi and everyone outside the window. At this moment, Yi Yi and others saw clearly the appearance of the 3 people. Yang Qing and Xia Yushi were immediately frightened and retreated, with the latter almost crying. Xia's father's eyes were also wide open, filled with a look of fear, while Xia's mother was already stunned and couldn't make a sound with her mouth open. They saw that the 3 people who turned around and stared at them had no facial features, their entire faces were empty and nothing. What exactly is this? Father Xia exclaimed in shock. After discovering Yi Yi and others, the 3 eerie figures in the room stood up and began walking towards the door. Although their speed is not fast, they are also not slow. They are about to walk to the door, and their mouthless faces keep making stiff and sharp sounds. Delicious food. Delicious food. Yi Yi was the first to react and immediately ran towards the stairwell. What are you still standing there for? Let's go. The frightened people also reacted and quickly followed Yi Yi towards the stairwell. As Yi Yi ran, he noticed that there were also sounds coming from the rooms he passed by, and the eerie things inside began to move. The 3 eerie figures in the previous room have already walked into the corridor and are constantly approaching them. Yi Yi and the others kept running towards the stairwell, but after running for a long time, Yi Yi realized something was wrong. He looked outside the stairwell and saw that those figures were still eerie and their numbers were increasing. They had been running for so long and hovering in place in this stairwell. Yang Qing saw Yi Yi stop and couldn't help but wonder, saying, "Brother Yi, why did you stop? Did you find anything?" The few people next to them were all puzzled. Yi Yi looked at them and said with a serious expression, "No need to run, we're stuck here. We've been running for so long and hovering in place." A few people were shocked and said, "What?" They turned their heads and found that they were still in their original place, while the monsters were already very close to them. "Done, it's getting cold now." Yang Qing felt a bit desperate. They were trapped here and couldn't run away, so they had to wait to die. Similarly, Xia's father leaned weakly against the wall, his pupils constantly trembling, showing his inner fear. Xia Yushi stood by Yi Ye's side, tightly grasping the corner of his clothes, with some tears in her eyes. She was also very afraid at this moment, but had an inexplicable trust in Yi Yi. At this moment, Xia's mother had already collapsed in her emotions and kept saying, "It's all my fault, it's all my fault." Yi Yi took a deep breath as she looked at the approaching figure, which was eerie. She gently shook Xia Yushi's hand, and Xia Yushi sensed Yi Ye's intention and released her grip on the corner of her clothes. Under Xia Yushi's gaze, Yi Yi slowly walked to the staircase and saw the eerie figure within reach. A black mist instantly appeared from Yi Ye's side. Chapter 10. Transforming into Nutrients. You are listening at novelfull.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text.